Let's talk housing, one of the things you just mentioned. People in this province are skeptical. They heard going back all the way to Prime Minister Stephen Harper, through Prime Minister Trudeau, to premiers, to mayors who have all said they're going to fix housing in British Columbia. They're going to make it more affordable for people. How is your plan different, and how will you measure success when it comes to housing affordability?
First of all, housing was affordable under Prime Minister Stephen Harper. It cost half of what it does now. When I was housing minister, we built 200,000 homes, and the average nationwide cost was $450,000 for a house. And you could rent an apartment in Canada, the average apartment, for $950. So this liberal housing crisis is the product of the last decade, where they ran money printing, inflation, and immigration out of control, boosting demand, and built up bureaucracies that blocked home building so that we couldn't have supply. That's how Liberals doubled housing costs, and now Mark Carney is doubling down on the same promises. So my plan is to do the opposite. Let's cut the bureaucracy and taxes that drive up the cost of housing. In Vancouver, 60% of the cost of a home is taxes and bureaucracy. So I will axe the federal sales tax on homes up to $1.3 million. I will incentivize the British Columbia municipalities to cut their development charges by $50,000 a home. Together, that will knock $100,000 off the price of what you pay for an average house.
Workers, big part of this.
Yes.
How quickly can you get the workers here? And one of the concerns here, and we've seen organizations pushing to say, well, if we're going to have immigration come into British Columbia, let's make sure that some of those immigrants are trained in building homes, in plumbing, in electricity. Will there be a requirement under your leadership to have certain criteria for immigration to help contribute to building things like homes, hospitals, schools?
Yes, because the Liberals broke immigration. They destroyed the system by bringing in over 1 million people a year with nowhere to house them. And that's one of the reasons we have this housing crisis. And many had no skills in home building. So what I'm going to do is we're going to be capping immigration. I will ensure that we never add people faster than we add homes. So the numbers target that I set for this year will always be lower than the number of homes that was built in the previous year. And we're going to target newcomers who have trade skills to build homes. Finally, we're going to back union training halls to train up 350,000 young people, bring back the apprenticeship grant, give as a gift a big box of all the trades training manuals to high schools, and hope that the principals will train our young, will get our young people working on pre-apprenticeships before they even graduate from high school. We need boots, not suits, as I like to say.
This is a province rich in resources. We have access to liquefied natural gas, we have access to forestry, we have access to mining. There have been many concerns around the way we get those products to market. What would you do to ensure we maximize the use of those resources in BC?
Well, we're going to need a change in that area too. The No New Development Law, C-69, the Liberals passed, in which Mr. Carney says he will keep, will prevent us from ever building another LNG plant, another pipeline, another expansion to our ports. Radical environmentalists like Gregor Robertson, they don't want to build anything, and they're going to be in charge if the Liberals get a fourth term. We need to change. My candidate, Alice Ross, he was the guy who helped bring out LNG Canada to Northwest British Columbia, the biggest project in Canadian history. He'll be playing a big role in my government. We're going to repeal the Liberal No Development Law, C-69, give 6-month turnaround time on permits, set up shovel-ready zones that have pre-approved permits so that businesses know they already have a permit as long as they hit the environmental standards to protect public safety. And we are going to, my goal is to approve about 10 LNG plants off the British Columbia coast, with First Nations communities being the primary beneficiaries. They are going to be the richest people in the world, coastal First Nations, if I become Prime Minister, because we are going to unlock our resources, and it is going to be $500 billion of extra resource development over the next 5 years if Canadians vote for a change with the Conservative Party.
Let's switch gears here. We're in Metro Vancouver. It is the epicenter of the overdose crisis in this country. Illicit drugs kill on average nearly 7 people a day in this province. What would you do as a federal government to address the complicated web of drug addiction, crime, and poverty that we're seeing in many parts of our urban centers here.
Yeah, I think that combination is really the tragic legacy of the lost Liberal decade. Their policies of inflationary policies have priced people out of homes, and their catch and release policies have turned loose rampant criminals on our streets. And then, of course, their drug liberalization has killed 50,000 people. Our neighborhoods are overrun with it, but we can reverse all that. It doesn't have to be this way. We have a conservative plan for a change, and what will we do? One, 3 strikes, you're out. 3 violent offenses, you go to jail for a minimum of 10 years, a maximum of life, no chance of parole or bail. 0 bail for 3-time offenders. No more catch and release. 2, we're going to bring in life sentences for fentanyl mass traffickers. 3, human traffickers will go to jail for life. 4, we're going to ban the hard drugs, shut down the drug consumption sites, and we're going to put the money into treatment and recovery to get people off drugs. 50,000 spaces, many of them in BC, will do detox, counseling, group therapy, get people off drugs and into a beautiful, exciting life where they're back with their families.
What do you mean when you say ban the hard drugs?
Well, we're going to actually enforce the rules on possession. Right now, they're really not enforced. The Liberals have directed prosecutors, don't even bother enforcing them. We're also going to stop the handing out of taxpayer-funded supply. The unsafe supply
in its entirety,
will be shut down 100%. It has been a total disaster. I met with a young man whose addiction began when he came into contact with taxpayer-funded hydromorphone. It ruined 3 years of his life and almost killed him. No more of that. We'll put the money in treatment.
Just want to wrap up the conversation with this. You know, largely, you've made a lot of commitments here, promises. You've laid out what Conservatives would do. But for voters, it's about trust. How can they trust you will do this? And also, how can you, and I know we've talked about a lot of issues, but how can people measure whether you're actually accomplishing what you've laid out?
So one is a question about before the election, and the other is a question about after. So how can they trust me before? Because I've been saying and doing the same thing for 20 years. When I was part of the Harper government, I helped pass tougher crime laws. I helped cut the GST. I opposed the carbon tax and supported resource development. So this is like a long track record of standing for these things that I'm proposing to do now. It's not like I woke up the day before the election, started promising something like Mr. Carney. Now all of a sudden he's promising that he's different than he was only a few months ago, as he was when he was Justin Trudeau's economic advisor. If you vote for him, you're going to get the 4th term of Justin Trudeau. With me, you're going to get what I've stood for my whole life. And how do you measure it? Well, after the election, I will do exactly what I said I'm going to do, and you will be able to judge me. Did he in fact cut income tax by 15%? Did he in fact axe the sales tax on new homes? Did he lock up the criminals and ban the drugs? All of those commitments are so clear and direct that you will be able to judge whether they were met, and they absolutely will be met, because this is the change I've been fighting for my whole life, and it's the change I will deliver.